Playoff rematch from last year's conference quarterfinals. Doesn't really feel like it here in 2018 with two teams trending in opposite directions. OKC Energy FC right now struggling beyond all belief, while Reno 1868 FC is in their longest unbeaten streak in franchise history. USL action from Taft Stadium tonight on a steamy, muggy night in Oklahoma City. Alongside former German professional Devin Kerr, I'm Brendan Gulick. Fun conference standings so far because we've got a lot of tight teams at the bottom, and Reno finds themselves right in the mix.
You have to give credit to Reno. Ian Russell has been amazing tactically, moving things around, getting the pieces right to the puzzle, and they've moved their way up the Western Conference standings. Still a lot of work left to do sitting in that 8th position, but they've done a good job to get back into the race. Unfortunately, OKC, like you said, trending in the opposite direction. Steve Cook really hasn't found what this team is yet. We don't know what direction they're going to go, proving to us last year all the way into the Western Conference Final where they lost to Swope Park Rangers that they could get it done. Hot team coming down the stretch, but falling flat early on this year.
Yeah, Reno's still been a good team this season, even though offensively not nearly as electrifying as they were a year ago. Nevertheless, this run they're on right now with 8 consecutive unbeaten games, longest in franchise history, they are really starting to figure it out.
They've done it versus some really good squads as well. Look, travel back in time, April 14th, Colorado Springs comes into Reno, smokes them 4-0. Since then, they haven't lost. It all started with that great win on April 21st versus T2. They took them down 2-1. They've gone into Papa Murphy's Park 3-2. They had 3 goals in the span of 5 minutes. It was an excellent second half. And since then, they've just been on a roll. Capped it off last week. Great win over San Antonio FC. And they don't have that high-powered offense like they did last year. But as you said, they've got the right contingencies and components to get into play when they need to and get the job done.
Meanwhile, Energy FC, a team that has had such proud tradition over the last several years, in fact, deep runs into the conference playoffs, and this year, things are just not going the right way.
The explosive offense that we just talked about at Reno, very similar coming down the stretch for OKC last year, and they were able to put a boatload of goals into the back of the net. But unfortunately, again, talked about falling flat, just can't really get things going. Who are they? What's their identity? Last year, they were great in transition. They were great in the final third, but they're lacking that this year. So bad, they've only got 2 players who've completed over 70% passes in the second half, in the opponent's half. So that's a staggering number. Obviously, going forward, they've just struggled a lot.
But, again, wins, or I should say win over Colorado Springs and a result against Tulsa their last 2. Meanwhile, Jerry Van Abek playing extremely well for Reno.
They've moved him all over the place. He's been used in the 9, the 10, the 6. They moved him in that holding midfielder spot, now out on the left, and they like to interchange pieces a lot, but he's really been the mainstay in the middle of the field to help get this thing going. Lindo Mafeka getting involved, Paul Marie, but all those guys, again, they're not really individual standouts. They work off of each other. It's been much more prevalent. You've seen it in the 8 games here. They've turned up the numbers offensively, more improving defensively, able to hold the ball out of the back of the net.
Christian Valesky, probably the one guy that could ignite this Energy FC offense.
Recently acquired him. Actually, he has 2 goals this year. His first one was all the way back on April 21st versus OKC. So that's why that stat's a little misleading, but he scored in his debut. Really gives them an extra dimension, able to stretch it in the final third. Just needs the guys to get in behind him, helping out in that supporting role.
In Reno's stretch here of 8 consecutive matches with a result. 4 of those were consecutive road matches. Tonight, their first contest back on the road since then. That was a stretch that went from May 2nd until Saturday, May 12th. So it will be an entertaining night. Energy FC would love to come up with a result like they did last year in the conference quarterfinals, but they've got some work to do in front of them. We'll have the starting lineups and the opening kick when we come back to Taft Stadium.
Find your Mercy primary care doctor at mercy.net/energy.
Success is achieved through hard work, and many business owners work tirelessly for years to realize the dream of franchising their business. FFB partners with companies of all sizes every day and offers an extensive variety of treasury services. FFB will outline a plan just for you, help you streamline cash flow, and monitor your business transactions. Because we know you've got better things to do, like grow your business. FFB. We go where you go.
I'd always wanted to get braces, always considered it, thought about it. You know, how long is this gonna take? Am I too old to do this? What am I gonna look like with braces on? With payment options and everything else, nothing's hindering me now, I just need to go ahead and do it. The staff, for one, is awesome. The doctor's great. I know I had friends growing up saying, oh, it hurts. I didn't have that experience. I can't wait to see my teeth without being masked by wires, right? Hindsight, I would have done it again 100 times over.
Starting lineup tonight for Reno 1868 FC on the road. They'd love to jump on OKC Energy early if they could.
Only one change for Ian Russell and the boys. Left back, obviously James Kiffey's still out dealing with that lower back injury. They had used Joel Quiberg last week. Duke Lacroix stepping in today. Otherwise, it's business as usual. Transitioning over to OKC Energy. They're only going to make one change tactically as well. They're going to do it on the left side of the pitch, though. Jaime Siaj is going to step in. Last week, they used Jonathan Brown, the Welsh native. Haven't really found a spot for him yet, but they've gone to the 4-1-4-1 2 games in a row. Kyle Highland, Dixon, Ibiaga, Andrews, guys that pretty much are the mainstays back there, and look for Matt Van Okel to have a solid game between the pipes.
Well, there's no doubt Energy FC are happy to be playing at home because any bit of familiarity they can put into this game right now and into this difficult stretch, they will certainly take. Of course, you get a good look there at Energy FC and their home Navy tops with the lime green trim. It is a muggy night, although you can see the fact that shadows are starting to come into play, and that's kind of a nice thing because it has been a very hot afternoon in Oklahoma City. All week long, it looked like temperatures might be approaching 100 degrees at kick, but it is particularly breezy tonight for one, and two, the temperature and the humidity definitely cooling off a little bit. So it should be a more comfortable night than we originally predicted. Energy FC coming in back-to-back results after having dropped 8 consecutive games. They won the opener this season against Tulsa, and then they drew Tulsa in their last match back on May 26th here just last week. They do have one more contest against the Roughnecks that'll come up in August, but have a chance to, you know, basically win the in-state matchup with Tulsa. Obviously, that's something they look forward to, no doubt. And on the Reno side, well, when things are going well, they're going well, and it could be sort of a domino effect as we get underway here in Oklahoma City. Again, Devin Kerr and Brendan Gulick with you. Taft Stadium tonight, the site. Energy FC always trying to find Christian Valesky up at the top of the pitch. And look, I think it's fair to ask if he is the answer for Energy FC or if he is just a brief solution. The fact of the matter is he's been effective in the couple games that they've had him here.
He's a Band-Aid. He will get you to where you want to be. It's easy to look at the numbers and say, okay, great, you know, only 5 goals for, they're not scoring goals. So let's push some numbers up top and try and find the back of the net. That's great. But you need to solidify things all over the pitch because your defense starts up top, and your ability to press or hold shape and form is going to give you the ability to be much better on the defensive side of the ball. They just haven't been able to do that, which is why all these goals are coming at them in waves. Multiple games this year, they've given up over 2 goals, 5 specifically. So almost in half their games, they're succeeding at least 2 goals. That's not a stat you want to be on the other side of. So it starts up top. Once he starts to stretch the field for them offensively, team can kind of slide in behind, help each other out, but it's got to be much more consistent.
Well, they had definitely gotten a big beat last time when scoring in the opening minute. Now they're on their heels in the opening minute. And Reno 1868 has a corner kick. Luis Felipe draws it. Valesky scored in the opening minute of that contest in the draw against Tulsa, and that was the only goal they got all game. Meanwhile, Jerry Van Avijk, who has Van Wolfgang on the back of his jersey there, same guy, don't be confused. We'll explain that momentarily. On the corner kick for 1868, it's a header and it's in. Reno strikes in the 2nd minute. A beautiful header right into the back of the net from Zach Carroll. That'll hush the crowd quickly.
Not the start that you want for Steve Cook and co. Reno doing a good job getting out right away, going through prep work for this game. You go back and you watch tape and you want to see exactly what the tendencies of a squad are. With OKC Energy, something you've seen is that they have struggled time and time again, obviously in transition defensively, but on set pieces, they have been abominable. Always giving up, if not goals, a lot of opportunities. You see the zonal marking, people aren't passing, sliding across Ibiaga, trying to get on the run. Unfortunately, just can't get there, and it's a great finish by Zach Carroll to the far post.
That feels like a disastrous goal for Energy FC because it automatically puts them on their heels. And whereas the last couple games, Devin, they maybe started to feel like, you know, they got some momentum back. We told you in the pregame, you know, for basically 600 minutes, they hadn't won or had a lead. And then all of a sudden, they put a couple things together in the last two games. They never trailed in either of the last two. Now they're putting themselves up against the 8-ball here early on. Zach Carroll, an all-USL second-team performer with New York Red Bulls 2 in 2016. Most recently played for Orlando City B. Member of the 2016 USL Cup champion in New York. Russell looking on. Beg your pardon, that was Steve Cook. Sometimes hard to tell by the back of the head. Although Ewan would probably say, yeah, I've got a little bit more hair up there.
It's 4 minutes in. We'll give you a get out of jail free card. You're good. I'm sure OKC would like one right now.
If you're tuning in just a little bit late, that's not a graphical error. It is 1-0 on Zach Carroll's header on the first set piece of the game. Came on a near side corner kick. Matt Van Oekel put in a tough spot early on. So far, the first several minutes have been played on the offensive side of the field for Reno 1868. Good little effort there from Jaime Siage, but nothing came of it. Instead, Paul Marie on the 1-2. Lays it ahead nicely. Van Avite, great cross, dangerous spot. Mo Chow couldn't haul it in. And it crosses the touchline.
You're going to see a lot of movement by Reno on the right-hand side. They like to move in transition, and it's very, very dangerous. Right back, Brent Richards loves the overlapping runs, does it great in combination with Paul Marie. Paul Marie actually started off the year in that right back position and has now transitioned into the midfield. The two of them have been an excellent combination, allowing other people to get involved.
You heard the emphatic whistle there from our head referee, Victor Ribas. Matt Van Oekel, what do you got to do as a keeper when you give up a goal 2 minutes in to basically hit the reset button and try to refocus?
Ask the referee politely. Let's step back in time and get it going. We're only 5 minutes in, reset the clock, pay the guy off, it'll be good. Unfortunately for Van Oekel, there's just some times where you can only do so much. That was a representation of it where the guys the marking was off. You saw Ibiaga just gets beat to the run. The marking was off a little bit. I don't mind the zone marking at times, but you got to make sure that you're very precise in that situation. You just didn't see it, and Van Oekel's left out to dry on his goal line. It was kind of that gray area where he could step out and challenge it. He had too many people. It was close enough where he thought he might, but he had too many people in front of him to go. So you're relying on your defenders to step in. It just didn't happen.
This is a Reno side that last year shattered the USL record for goals in a season with over 70. This year, much more balanced offensively, but they've done a far better job on the defensive end. Good high pressure there. Ball rolls free. And certainly when you lose the Golden Boot winner, Dane Kelly possessed so much talent. And look, and if you're being fair, he probably found himself in the right spot oftentimes. But you can't make the argument that there was a better finisher in the league because he was, bar none, the best in the USL.
That's the mark of a good marksman and a good goal scorer. Sometimes it's just right place, right time. Plenty of players growing up that I was with that just not necessarily the most technically sound or the greatest speed or the biggest person, but some of those guys just know how to find the back of the net. Always want them on your side, though.
So a corner kick For OKC Energy, Philip Rasmussen will take it. Left center back tonight. And he'll take a lot of the set pieces for Energy FC. Early in the game, this is the first legitimate chance OKC's had. Bending away, it's headed toward the back post and just wide left. Good corner, didn't work out with a goal, but good pressure. Cody Andrews almost put it in.
Not a bad ball in by Rasmussen. Jonathan Brown likes to step into the set piece situations and corner kicks. He's going to be on the bench here this evening. But a good ball by Philip.
Get a look at Carroll there, who scored the opening goal. And it has been a balanced attack offensively for 1868. Nice ball played ahead. Rasmussen needs some help. Conjunction with Richard Dixon, played into the box, dangerous ball. Highland back forward. Siage centers it. Right on Callum Ross's right foot. Ricochets away. Probably a ball Chavez would like to have back.
Frustrating, but it's good pressure from OKC. Got to give credit back to James Marcinkowski just seconds ago. Smart, recognizing the threat, coming into the box, doing a good job stepping up into the space. It's the mark of a good goalkeeper. A lot of times you'll see tentativeness in the box, and do I go, do I stay? Clouds their decision-making ability, which can affect the entire outcome of the play, but Smart, James just steps up, punches, and then regroups. Good defending by Reno.
Coming for Reno. As an Energy FC fan, knowing that your team has made such deep runs in the playoffs the last couple of seasons, how do you try to digest a tough start and keep faith that things can turn around?
It's very difficult to do, but it sounds corny, but almost a trust the process type thing, because not only did they make that run, but a lot of the guys in the cast of characters that are on the field now were involved in that situation. So you obviously have the personnel that have shown that can play at that high level. Things just aren't going right. A lot of times you can have an issue here and there throughout run of play. Maybe they're not scoring enough, maybe they're not defending that well. Unfortunately, all of those things have crept into play here for OKC, so just you look for one good thing and take baby steps to get yourself in the right position. It's exactly what you talked about at the top of the broadcast. They've done it. They've gone out in the past 2 games. They've won a good game. They've tied a decent game. They just need to continue that momentum. Giving up that early goal isn't what you wanted to do. Plenty of time to make amends, though.
1868 on the move. Mfeka with a great ball played forward. And it didn't mount into much because Ibeyaga clogged the middle. Hey, get a look at the weather tonight. The wind pretty consistent, double-digit blowing, and sometimes it can gust even more than 20 miles an hour. But a relatively blue sky here in Oklahoma City, and you see the shadows casting across from the home side onto the field.
OKC needs to try and capitalize in the first half on that slight advantage as much as possible. The ball drifting in and out of the shadows is going to affect James Marcinkowski in the back. It's difficult for a goalkeeper to track a ball in different lights like that. Matt Van Oekel on the other side isn't going to have to deal with it in the first half, and definitely not going to have to in the second. So they've got another 35 minutes on something that, again, it's a tiny little advantage, but it's something that could come into play.
Richard Dixon. Seen some long passes from the back line that have not connected as Mfeka tries to chip the keeper. Puts it right on line, but Van Oekel there waiting. Energy FC, their conversion rate offensively not very high this year. 122 shots isn't too bad for 11 games, but only 5 goals. Kind of find themselves middle of the pack in terms of shots taken. So maybe a reason to be confident there. It's not as though they're not getting any looks offensively, but again, only 2 wins on the season, although one of those did come just 2 games back. Siage. Good team defense. Chavez. Nice back heel touch, and it's blasted out of bounds. Holy smokes. Zach Carroll tried to kick that one to Tulsa. "13th minute. Reno scored on Zach Carroll's goal back in the 2nd minute. This one played into the middle. It's a beauty, and it's off the crossbar. How in the world did that not go home? Dixon was tracking it all the way, and it just couldn't find the back of the net. Highland tries again. Dixon with a second chance. Flag goes up. Man alive.
This is good stuff from OKC. See him starting to turn it up a little bit. I like the little back heel from Jaime Ciaz just moments ago, and then it's a teasing ball in from Callum Ross, the player that came over from Charlotte. A nice ball in behind the back, and as you mentioned, Alex Dixon trying to crash the party and just crashes it off the woodwork.
A great chance for Energy FC in the 13th minute. Perhaps that'll get them feeling like they can get back in this game. Speaking with Steve Cook leading up to tonight's contest, he spoke about Reno's quality. And he just said, look, they've got MLS players they bring down frequently, and they're a good team. They work hard, they can hurt you multiple different ways. He likes the fact that they can play either a possession-based style or play rather direct. Whatever they choose to do, Kyle Highland tries to get everybody moving in the right direction. He likes Reno's consistency, pointed to the fact that obviously they scored a ton a year ago, but this year their defense has just been so much better. I mean, you flat out have to be ready to go because it's hard to match their intensity at times. Ibiaga and Highland work together. Throw in down in the corner.
Interesting that the offense of Reno last year was so prolific. It was also much easier to scout because you could almost just knock the ball into the channel, let Dane Kelly run onto it. It was that kind of year. Much more difficult to deal with tactically this year because there are so many people involved in the run of play. We talked about Jerry Van Avik and Lindo Mafeka, Paul Marie, Mo Chow up top. But then you start stepping back, and your center back, Zach Carroll, scores in the opening minutes of the game. You've got Brent Richards on the right. Left back has been touch and go due to injury, but everybody just so talented top to bottom.
Van Avik curls it into the middle. A foul sends it the other way. You get a look there at the violation. You might have noticed there on the corner kick for the second time that Van Avik's jersey said Van Wolfgang. The reason for that?
It's my turn?
Your turn. Fill it in, my friend.
It's actually an interesting tendency that has crept into play here, we'll say, keeping on the soccer terminology. Men combining or taking women's names during marriage. Jerry Van Avik got married, I believe it was the middle to end of March, and decided that he was going to combine his name with his wife's maiden name. And now we have Van Wolfgang. Noma Van Avik, Jade Van Wolfgang. Would love to have a conversation with that and see exactly what the thought process was behind it, but you got to respect him. And hey, I'll tell you what, since the name change, Reno's been headed in the right direction. So maybe Ian Russell had a little bit to do with it.
All I know is Van Wolfgang sounds so much more fearsome.
I feel like if we walked into his home, there's going to be a massive picture. Just portrait, a family portrait right there. Generations going up the wrapping stairwell.
Has to be. Reno leads 1-0. An early goal came in the 2nd minute from Zach Carroll. And OKC Energy, except for one really good opportunity, they've been kind of on their heels here in the opening quarter hour. Energy FC working on a 2-match unbeaten streak after they had dropped 8 in a row. As the old saying goes, you can't build Rome in a day. So You just try to take it one game at a time and start building and see what you can generate. That's a takeaway in a tough situation for Energy FC. Mafeka, right on the money. Partida, diving step by Van Oekel.
Another good look at the looks Reno are going to give you. Luis Felipe Hernandez recognizing the ball movement, just steps up into that space and is able to get a good tackle in. Help his team go the other direction.
Long ball played ahead, but pretty well defended. Reno takes their time and changes sides of the pitch. Brent Richards, who was a key cog in the defensive unit last year. But for Reno, I mean, remember, let's think about it from their perspective. They were the talk of the town all season. First-year franchise in the league, 75 goals, and they were ousted in the first round of the playoffs by this very Energy FC team. So this game maybe tonight continues to be a little more personal than others might be. This is the second and final meeting between the two this year, with Reno taking a 2-0 decision back in April. And on the earliest goal OKC's allowed this season, Reno has a 1-0 lead here 18+ minutes in tonight. Highland. Chavez, good ball played ahead. Ross tries to race after it. Instead, Dixon. He'll feed Richard Dixon, no relation, but too far ahead of him. Do you like what OKC's trying to build here offensively?
You can see it. The wheels are starting to turn a little bit. You'd like to see Kyle Highland and Richard Dixon get involved a little bit more. You saw moments ago a ball sprayed outside and Dixon trying to get on the end of it. Couldn't find it, but it was decent ball movement from OKC. Started on the left. They're playing very high, but to be that high in this system, totally fine with that. But if you're going to push like that, you need to utilize them. Get them around the outside. Get the overlapping runs. Start to confuse the backs of Lacroix and Brent Richards. Otherwise, they're just going to stand there and they have no one else to mark. You expect the outside back to just stand. Ball's going to get played in. You don't have to worry about any puzzles to solve whatsoever. You're just one-on-one the entire time.
Marie started to do it himself, but the offside flag went up. Perhaps a fortuitous break for Energy FC. Seeing lots of these balls from Energy FC. They're trying to play lots of long passes ahead, and many of them are not connecting and they lose possession. It's kind of hard to build offensive momentum that way.
You can't play a 40-yard ball when you've only got 40 yards of space. Christian Valesky's fast, but not that quick.
Ibiaga. I thought he had some help. He almost put himself in a terrible spot. We've referenced a couple of different times the success that Energy FC has had the last several years. The one notable missing piece from that conversation was their head coach the last several years, Jimmy Nielsen. What a great job he had done with his club. Obviously his playing career spoke for itself. Steve Cook certainly doing everything he can to get things moving back to where they had been.
Two very different pedigrees of coaches, we'll say, and backgrounds. Obviously, you saw the
Rasmussen and Dixon working. Kind of topped it into the middle. Ended up being more effective than he anticipated. No foul call.
You saw the great playing career of Jimmy Nielsen, the White Puma, step in, and it carried over into his coaching efforts. But Steve Cook, just a different, he's more of a hybrid.
Mo Chow keeps it alive. Reno almost pushed in another one.
Steve Cook doesn't have a playing career. He started off at a young age when he's over in England, and So much so that decided he wanted to be a head coach and attended Carnegie University and goes through everything, gets his coaching degree. So much so that at the ripe old age of 22, notice what I did there, ripe old age of 22, he was invited into the Sheffield Wednesday Youth Academy and was a youth coach, did such a great job and just moved his way up through the ranks. We all came to know of him at Colorado Rapids over the past few years as an academy coach and then a first team assistant. But look, sometimes you say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Obviously, OKC just decided that things weren't working for them. Jimmy decided something wasn't working for him. And, you know, when asked the organization about it, organization just said polite things, said, you know what, we just decided between two companies it was best for us both to part ways. And that's nice when you hear it's an amicable separation.
No doubt you don't want hard feelings on either side, that's for sure. And Steve Cook said his time so far in Oklahoma City has been superb. He said the people there have been fantastic, all the way to the top of the club. Ownership's been great. Said they've got a lot of challenges ahead, but feels like they're taking positive steps in their training and certainly in competition.
He obviously knew what he was getting himself into. He was the interim head coach at Colorado Rapids last year after the firing of Pablo Mastroeni, and he's gone, so he wouldn't have left an environment like that, whether he was given the opportunity to stay on as the head coach or to continue on as an assistant. He wouldn't leave that unless he was sure he was going into something that would profit him and his career. You've seen him step in. He's got the pieces there. Again, it just needs to fall for him, but can't make silly decisions like we just saw back there. Ibiaga on the back line.
Ibiaga's had to work awfully hard so far as this game's going along. We're in the 24th minute. Reno scored in the 2nd minute on a corner kick that was headed in by center back Zach Carroll. Jerry Van Avike will send this one in, trying to double the lead. Plays it up top instead. Long, low strike blocked. Kyle Highland got in the way.
There's another look at the OKC defense stepping up into space and just a little touch behind. You can see Mo Chow trying to get involved. Good stuff by Matt Van Oekel stepping up into the space. The design set piece for Reno, I'll be a little bit more clever than that. Start reading that book from a mile away. OKC did well.
Nifty play. Great connection. Van Oekel punches away a Mfeka rocket from outside the 18. That had some serious heat behind it.
Lindo is not afraid to try something from distance. And for all you young goalkeepers at home, take a good look at this. You get a ball that's hit very square. You can see it kind of swerving a little bit, not a lot of spin on it. Smart from Matt Van Oekel, just punches it away. You try and catch a ball like that, sometimes you'll give up a bad deflection, let another player run and get a second opportunity. So instead, just lock your hands up, punch it away, live to die another day.
You're right, it kind of knuckled on its way to the top corner. Yeah. Van Oekel perhaps living on borrowed time here early in the game. Surrendered a goal that I'm sure he wishes he had back, but I don't know if I'd squarely blame him for it. Zach Carroll kind of found himself in open space. And Ibiaga had poor positioning on the goal that was surrendered. How about an attack on the other side? By the way, one name we've hardly said at all tonight, Christian Valesky. See if they can get him involved as he was racing toward the back line. Chavez out to the right. Richard Dixon to Alex Dixon. Highland lurking in the middle. Dixon trying to get vertical.
Here's a good look at the spacing I was just talking about. Kyle Highland stepping all the way into the middle of the field. That's something Justin Chavez needs to start pulling the strings a little bit more. Get the ball at his feet, enabling him to dictate which way play is going to go. As the ball comes back across the field, because Highland has stepped in, it comes out to the left. There's nowhere on the left side of the field for Philip Rasmussen to go. He's got no one to help him. He has to wait for the play to redevelop to Kyle Highland to come back out and help him out.
Callum Ross, great ball played backside. Alex Dixon tried to corral it back into the middle. Valesky was waiting for his chance, never came. Good crowd on hand tonight. The environment right now, though, is a little somber, and only because Energy FC essentially started this game down 1-0, or at least it felt that way, giving up a goal less than 2 minutes in. Doesn't stop them from having a little fun, though.
Yeah, the Grid's never one to shy away from a challenge. They like to get it going behind that north goal. They'll beat their drums all night long. They're a good supporters group. It's fun to follow their stuff and see exactly what they do. When you quote unquote buy into the Grid, both from a price standpoint, but also kind of spiritually, they really like to give back to the community. They talk about going green in this day and age. They do a lot of community service projects and really encourage their members to volunteer and give back to the community.
Chow in trouble. Marie across, still loose. Goal kick. And A-Bike almost made it 2-0. My goodness.
We told you that they're a little bit different than last year, but make no mistake about it, they can still go quick with the best of them. Another good look, ball sprayed outside to Paul Marine. Whips a nice teasing ball in with that right foot. Couldn't find the back post. Just goes to show you that you can strike at a moment's notice. Even they're a little bit more methodical in their efforts nowadays.
Good possessive soccer for a brief moment. Now they'll try this side with Richards. Murray back to Richards. Couple of dribbles. Murray tried to center it. Deflected. An opening. Van Oekel up top to grab it. A lot of long shots from Reno here in the first half. They are testing Van Oekel's will. So far, he's hanging in there.
That's something Ian Russell most definitely said to his squad. Keep Van Oekel honest. You don't mind the effort from that direction. Again, they can sort of lull you to sleep, put together a million passes, moving side to side, finding the right shape. But it's always good to have a crack 25, 30 yards out to keep the keeper honest.
Of course, Cody Lorendi, so important for OKC Energy FC. Last couple of years, we mentioned that Jimmy Nielsen was one of those names that was missing from the conversation. So is Lorendi. You can make the argument that he was a top 5 keeper across the league.
I feel like that's safe to say.
Yeah,
I agree with that. That's a good comment. Definitely kept his teams in games and did a lot more good than harm.
A foul against Energy FC that has them shaking their heads a little bit. Ross called for the foul.
Some good stuff from the peanut gallery in the background, letting us know exactly how they felt about that decision.
Love having crowd mics to pick up everything. OKC sees a 1-0 deficit on the scoreboard. Alex Dixon put a header off the crossbar that nearly tied the game in about the 13th minute. That was easily their best opportunity so far, and it's one that Dixon will have nightmares about. A great ball played across by Ross, and for whatever reason, it deflected off the wrong part of his forehead. Andrews, long layup. Way too early in the game for Reno to go and just start sitting on their heels and not attacking, but they can be much more selective knowing the kind of role they've been on. 8 consecutive games unbeaten. That is the longest in franchise history. Of course, last year they had runs of 7 and 6 separate unbeaten streaks, but 8 here through the first almost dozen games of the season now. Richards with some pressure from Siage. Van Avike, can he get one across? Struck poorly. Feels to me like a lot of the passes Oklahoma City is making are such that they are hoping something happens from it rather than having a plan of attack.
The first thing that they need to figure out at halftime with Steve Cook is if you're going to go the direction of the long ball, you need a little bit more intention behind those balls that you're playing. You're exactly right. And you're seeing it. You're seeing these long balls just kind of sprayed up, and they expect Christian Valesky to just run underneath it, pull something down. Unfortunately, you're most likely not going to win a lot of those balls. Thomas Janjigian and Zach Carroll, 6'3", 6'4", respectively. Now, Valesky's 6'1", and he's got some excellent leaping ability, but when you're constantly changing pace, changing direction, the speeds in and out, it's hard for your body to get in the right position on a regular basis. Want to play the long ball, dictate it a little bit more specifically, we'll say. Again, you knock that long ball up. He also needs people stepping in behind him. We've seen that long ball played up. Even if he would win them, he doesn't really have anybody there in support to help him out if he brought it down.
Can it be a little bit frustrating, too, for Valesky, feeling like his opportunities are not coming on more high percentage chances? Siage had it pulled off. Highland has a chance to center it. Valesky, Dixon, tied at 1. Beautiful combo. Energy FC on the board.
Apparently, our conversation is in the ear of Alec Dixon and Christian Valesky. So we talked about the intent and purpose. And though this isn't in transition with a ball and a hope, there is intention behind the ball played in. You see it floated to the back post. Valesky does a great job positioning himself appropriately, knocking the ball right across the 6. Alex Dixon's right where he's supposed to be, steps in and just buries it behind Marcin Kowski. It's a great response from the Energy.
First goal of the season for the second-year player in OKC. Last time he had scored August 25th at Orange County last year. One of the most consistent players up top. Obviously his speed is one of his biggest assets. And whereas he missed a header early in the game, now he's on the board. Energy FC all of a sudden feeling some renewed sense of purpose. Like the unselfishness too of Valesky there as a goal scorer, sitting on the doorstep with a chance to maybe put ahead, or I should say put in a tying goal. He made the smarter decision and gave Dixon a wide open look. As Highland tries to touch it across, he generated that goal. Rasmussen measures, nice deflecting. Reno can counter as quickly as anybody in the league. Richard Dixon all over Van Avike. Richards. Chips it toward the backside, Van Oekel. Nice read.
Go back to your comments about Christian Valesky just moments ago. It's interesting because just a few seconds before we were talking about how frustrating it can be for a forward up top, you know, those long balls, methodical, get underneath it, this, that, and the other. That can wear on a forward's confidence. The last thing you want someone playing in the 9 position up top is a forward who doesn't have confidence to find the back of the net. A lot of times when that happens, they start to go wandering. They start to kind of stretch the limits and do a few things, I should say, outside of the norm. Fortunately enough for him, he wasn't lacking it there. Great ball to the back post, and he's unselfish to help his team get a great goal.
Dixon ran after that one. Corner kick coming. Good look at Dixon there, who's trying to figure out how maybe he could string together a multi-goal game as Rasmussen goes back to take the corner. Rasmussen curling to the back post. Well, there was a real chance for Ibeagha. And now a whistle comes. Callum Ross pulled down.
Mistake from Kevin Partita, their holding midfielder, sliding over and just helping out on the backside of the ball. You can see him, feet just gets caught up a little bit, taking Callum Ross down. Now you're going to get a little bit of a makeshift corner for OKC Energy. Right around 7.5 minutes to go in this first half. Carrying their momentum a little bit here. Good response in the past 5-6 minutes from OKC, and you like to see it continue after the goal. Rasmussen whipped in a nice little ball earlier. See if we can get another dangerous one into the mixer.
On the way. Hard, low driving ball punched away by Marcinkowski. Alex Dixon couldn't control it at his foot. And it stays with Energy FC. '39th minute. A second-minute goal from Zach Carroll. And a response from Alex Dixon. Ooh. Yeah, that's an easy booking. Richards doesn't like it. How'd you see it?
Victor Rivas wasn't happy with it either. Had him a few games ago, and he's not one to shy away from pulling the card on you. Saw Brent Richards coming over the back. It's difficult. He hasn't really been on the referee's radar so far in the first half. You can see him definitely come up over the top. For me, first infraction, 39 minutes into a game. There's no reason to go into your book there. Okay. It's Victor Rivas being a little bit advantageous on his part. If he's going to set that tone for the players, though, he at least needs to be continuous and let everybody know that if you're going to make a move like that, you're going to get booked as well.
Rasmussen's ball kind of hangs up in the air a bit. Chavez heads it back. Ibeagha tries it. Oleski back heel. Rasmussen swung his leg into no man's land. 1868. And a foul called on Chavez as the Boo Birds out at Taft Stadium.
This is where refereeing is always kind of tantalizing. Victor Rivas just moments ago has Richards come up over the top, not against the run of play or anything. Then you have Justin Chavez, who makes a great professional foul, mind you. I know he's trying to win the ball, but also if that man gets by him, you've got a free-for-all coming into the final third. For me, that's a situation where the referee would most likely pull a card, but again, Victor Rivas has his own set of rules. Sometimes that stretch outside the FIFA rule book.
Is that in the section for under your interpretation?
Laws of the game, I make them.
Alex Dixon. Maybe got away with a little push off Lacroix. Ross. Highland's been a good initiator. Rasmussen with his head on a swivel. Highland chips it into the middle, and the whistle comes.
It's a good look at how OKC have figured out tactically what they're going to do, or at least respond to Reno's antics. I talked about the interchanging of players on the offensive side of the ball for Reno. Paul Marie and Brent Richards getting in and out and moving into the middle, overlapping runs. You're starting to see that by OKC, especially on the left-hand side. Jaime Siaj, just moments ago, ball played into the back post, and he's in there with Christian Valesky trying to get something down. As he steps over, Rasmussen steps out, Callum Ross will step out as well, so they're all interchanging pieces. It's nice to have a fluid formation. As long as you all cover each other, it's going to work well.
We've talked very briefly about Jonathan Brown. He's on the 18 tonight, but not on the field yet. His effectiveness this year in crosses among the best in the league. And you referenced that he takes a lot of the set pieces that right now Rasmussen has taken. Do you think he could come off the bench and make a positive impact here in the second half?
He can definitely make a positive impact. The problem is they haven't figured out where to utilize him best so far. They started him off at the beginning of the year. They'd isolate him up top in that solo forward role. But again, he just, formation-wise, was it the wrong thing? Probably not. But the results, they just weren't getting them. So, of course, Steve Cook starts moving things around. More frequently, he's been using him on the left-hand side recently, and that's been a role where he can kind of exploit his speed a little bit better. But again, you gain him on the dead ball situations. You probably get a little bit more tactical movement out of Jaime Ciaz. You lose speed, but it gives you a different look.
Tough tackle, no whistle. Right on the edge of the box. Advantage Reno, play on. Chow. Throws it ahead for Van Avike, and he was probably offside.
It's a great ball from Chow. Van Avike got to keep his head on a swivel. Plays that ball, another overlapping run to the far post. And here's another look at what just happened moments ago. Alex Dixon coming in, takes a touch in. It's difficult. It's hard for the referee to blow the whistle for a PK there. He plays the ball. The run's already gone to ground before he even cuts it behind him. It's kind of a runner where kind of has to get out of the way. Can't step on him, can't fall down. For me, it's not a penalty. Difficult to point there, but it's not a penalty.
Duke Lacroix flirting with disaster. And he gets away with it there. Van Avike looking for help. Finally finds it. Felipe. Changing sides of the field. Zach Carroll struck first on a header from the game's first corner kick way back in the 2nd minute. Final minute before stoppage time in the first half. Partida. Well, Reno is not looking to force the issue at all until they find exactly what they want. Defense bunching together a little bit here, making it tough. Van Avike. Feka. Marie. Blocked away by Andrews.
Good stuff by Cody Andrews, sliding over and getting in the way of a shot by Paul Marie. And it's difficult to tell at this angle. You'll notice when the ball comes back into Reno a little bit, but their formation, they're basically playing 2 center backs. Now it's 4 at the back, but they're basically playing 2 center backs, and their outside backs are getting so high, which is causing so much difficulty for OKC. You can see the formation turns into, there's 11 players on the field. We basically had a goalkeeper, 2, and then another 8.
Van Avike throws a great ball right at the top of the 6, headed over the top.
So you're dealing with Duke Lacroix on the left-hand side, Brent Richards on the right. Luis Felipe Hernandez and Kevin Partida are dropping a little bit deeper, but that enables the outside backs to get around the outside. The forwards and midfielders are going to tuck in a little bit more, but that's why you see these combination balls coming in and out of space. Constantly the flat back line of OKC struggling to keep up with the overlapping runs.
There's a halftime whistle. Well, credit Energy FC for hanging in there. They had a really good look early in the game, and then from that point, well, kind of had to scrap and claw their way back into it. A goal from Alex Dixon in the 34th minute. Tied things up at 1 after Energy FC basically had to play from behind the entire beginning of the match. So we are level at 1 apiece. As halftime reaches. Hope you'll stick with us during halftime. We've got lots to bring you, including a feature on Christian Valesti with digital reporter Brent Skarkey. Also, take you around the news and notes around the league, let you know what things look like coming up on the national USL schedule as well. 1-1 our score at the break. Taft Stadium.
Find your Mercy primary care doctor at mercy.net/energy.
I'd always wanted to get braces, always considered it, thought about it. You know, how long is this going to take? Am I too old to do this? What am I going to look like with braces on? With payment options and everything else, nothing's hindering me now. I just need to go ahead and do it. The staff, for one, is awesome. The doctor's great. I know I had friends growing up saying, oh, it hurts. I didn't have that experience. I can't wait to see my teeth without being masked by wires, right? Hindsight, I would have done it again 100 times over.
Success is achieved through hard work, and many business owners work tirelessly for years to realize the dream of franchising their business. FFB partners with companies of all sizes every day and offers an extensive variety of treasury services. FFB will outline a plan just for you, help you streamline cash flow, and monitor your business transactions. Because we know you've got better things to do, like grow your business. FFB, we go where you go.
Before the celebration, before the projections. Wait, those are the projections? Before you changed course. Again. Before the late nights, long shots, and leaps of faith. Before it was a startup, it was just an idea. And then everything changed. Cox Business. We're making the connections that change everything.
Zach Carroll and Alex Dixon with the 2 tallies so far, even at 1 goal apiece at the intermission. Hey, learning you've been transferred to a different club poses challenges for both the new player and the new team. Newly acquired forward Christian Valesky has fit right in with Energy FC. Digital reporter Brent Skarkey visits with Christian on the transition from St. Louis FC to Energy FC.
What a score Saturday night in Tulsa. In the first minute of the match, Energy newcomer Christian Valesky kicks across his body to give the Greens the early lead. It's one of 2 goals for the 25-year-old on the season, and his Energy teammates have seen them both. The first came against OKC as a member of St. Louis FC.
I think I'm a athletic forward that's able to connect the dots, play football, keep the ball on the deck, but also make runs in behind and take advantage of opportunities.
Valesky comes to Oklahoma City via St. Louis, of course, but also played with the Cup team in Rochester and briefly in the MLS with Sporting KC. His ties to Coach Cook go all the way back to his youth days as a 14-year-old in the Vegas soccer system.
Well, we brought him in because he likes to exploit the space behind defenders. He likes to run in behind. He does some really, really clever forward runs, and he's difficult for centre-backs to mark. So I think he's done a really good job of that. And then when he gets near goal, he's dangerous. I think this weekend he scored a fantastic goal, great finishing early in the game.
Valesky also familiar with Coach Perlman, having played with FC Tucson of the PDL. But now he's in OKC and liking the energy.
I didn't know much, but I'm pleasantly surprised. Obviously, the apartments they put us up in our first class, and the organization as a whole, it's treating us very well. And as far as USL is concerned, it's definitely a top 5 club, I think, in my opinion.
And one thing that might not jump out to you about Christian, he's an angler.
I have not found a good fishing hole yet, so taking any offers. And a couple guys on the team I found out like to fish, and Cody and Brian, the goalkeepers. So I guess I'll have to go hang out with some goalkeepers to go fishing.
So next time you're at Taft, look for the speedy kid from Vegas to knock home another goal. For Energy FC TV, I'm Brent Skarkey.
A couple of those fish were huge. Pretty cool for Valesky. Certainly a fun hobby. All right, so we're level at 1 at halftime. When we come back, we'll catch you up on all that's going on across the league. But that's after this message from our sponsors. 1-1 at the break here at Taft Stadium.
Welcome to another episode of The Breakdown. This week I've handpicked some of my favorite plays from the week. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Back across to lose Iwolo.
loose, and how about?
This play from Owolo starts here. You know, he wins the header, and that allows his striker to go through on goal. The commitment to win the header and then follow it through with the run and the support as well, because he could just stop. He could stop his run and expect the striker to score, but he follows it through. He doesn't take the best of first touches when it comes back to him, but he has the composure to take another touch and relax. So a cheeky double nutmeg to finish it off.
There, finds Perez. Perez with the back heel. It's there, and a goal! Joaquin Rivas!
This play is more about the assist. When he picks it up, it's very difficult because he has two defenders on him. He uses his awareness. His spatial awareness is fantastic. He tries to stay in the box as long as possible, and then the support run from Rivas is also tremendous. It looks an easy skill, but it's not. It's very difficult. And again, Rivas's finish on the weaker foot into the far corner. Again, it's a brilliant play.
Combine well with others. We saw him a few weeks ago with Fresno.
Oh, this is dangerous opportunity here. Strike, and we are equal.
This has to be one of my favourite plays from the week. When Lopez gets the better of his defender here, he sees the keeper coming out. His first touch actually takes him on a tight angle. And when you see this frame here, he knows he's got three defenders rushing back to goal. So that when he takes his strike, he knows that he has to put pace on it. Now, to put pace on it from that angle is a very difficult technique. I don't think if he had that moment again, he could do it any better. You know, it's a fantastic finish, perfect, with three defenders running back to goal. It has to be my favourite play of the week.
Mendez, good ball. Here's Zubak looking for number 3, and he scores!
The connected movement from Ethan Zubak and his fellow strike partner here is fantastic. You know, he comes to feet and he drags the defender with him, and then he uses his agility and his speed to get past the defender with just a simple movement, a simple step. Again, to have that partnership with your striker is something that's very strong, and it will hold him in good stead for the season. There's a reason why he's player of the week. Out of his 4 goals that he scored, that was my favourite, purely because of the movement and the tactical awareness from both of them.
When I saw Alex Mendez get the ball from an entry pass, I just knew I had to spin off, and when the ball came right to my feet on top of the box, I just decided to go for it and finish it.
I hope you've all enjoyed this week's episode of The Breakdown. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Halftime in Oklahoma City as we take a look at what's going on around the USL. Obviously, Chandler Hoffman certainly had a pretty good season so far, and he has continued to be one of the hottest goal scorers in the league.
Some super fun storylines you're going to see here with Hoffman, actually the 3rd player to get 50 in his career in the USL. The other 2, Charlotte Independence's Ironman Jorge Herrera and former Reno standout Dane Kelly. Obviously, they'd like to get him back on track. Unfortunately, not in the squad anymore, as we all know. Bob Lilly and co. going down to Nashville. Brandon Allen trying to close that game out in the 69th minute. Interesting stat, though. They were undefeated. They're still sitting in 4th, though. 2 points back at 3rd. And then last but not least, Ethan Zubak and his phenomenal effort that he put out versus Las Vegas. 4 goals, phenomenal. Had a hat-trick a couple weeks back for St. Louis as well.
Hard to believe that the season is already 2 months in, but we're having a ton of fun. Lots of things here still to come, including this game. Sacramento against Phoenix might be one of the marquee games. 2 teams right now in home playoff position.
That's the one for me. The Sac Republic game at Papa Murphy's Park. Phoenix is going to have to come into a very hostile environment. You know, 2nd place, 4th place at this point in time in the Western Conference. But first thing first for Sacramento, they got a rough game tonight. They got to deal with Orange County Soccer Club. It's a good one. And then keep an eye, T2 and RGV. 2 teams that have been kind of interesting this year. RGV hasn't really gotten in the win column a lot. 7 ties, though, so they're holding on in games. T2, I call them the Western Conference Wonders because they have totally turned things around, currently sitting in 3rd place. They look good.
We'll have to see how things continue to shake out. The West seems to be especially tight. Meanwhile, we've got lots of national coverage coming for you in the coming weeks, including here in Cincinnati, the Queen City. That game will be on ESPN3. The rest of those on ESPN News for you, including OKC Energy FC. That'll come your way on just a little over a month from now, July 11th, when they have Las Vegas Lights. All right, highlights, upcoming stats from this game, and more when we return to Oklahoma City, halftime between Energy FC and Reno 1868.
I'd always wanted to get braces, always considered it, thought about it. You know, how long is this going to take? Am I too old to do this? What am I going to look like with braces on? With payment options and everything else, nothing's hindering me now. I just need to go ahead and do it. The staff, for one, is awesome. The doctor's great. I know I had friends growing up saying, oh, it hurts. I didn't have that experience. I can't wait to see my teeth without being masked by wires, right? Hindsight, I would have done it again 100 times over.
When that hurricane hit, the entire community came together as a whole. It was such an overwhelming response to help others. No one thought that they were going to do this before it happened, and everyone just did it. I think that's the way that human nature should be looked at.
I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you. Won't let nobody hurt you. I'll stand by you.
In Ireland, the first Sisters of Mercy were called the Walking Sisters because every day they went out in search of women and children who needed healing or help. Mercy continues to answer the same call, dedicated to the health of every woman who comes to us for care. Mercy, in every era, your life is our life's work. Learn why we serve at mercy.net/legacy.
Pretty competitive first half on a warm but pleasant evening as the night has progressed. Energy FC scored their 6th goal of the season. It came in a big way because it leveled the match at 1 apiece against a Reno squad that has not lost its last 8 games. Along with Devin Kerr, I'm Brendan Gulick. Here are some of your first half highlights. And it started with a bang right away from 1868.
Second minute, great ball in by Jerry Van Avike, and you see Zach Carroll just crashing the front post. Again, it goes back to the defending for me. You're playing the formation where you want to flow players around and you want to do the zonal formation. That's fine. But if you're going to do it, you have to be efficient at it. OKC not. It's a terrible start for them. Phenomenal finish by Zach Carroll, and you can see it just beats him to the near post, and it's a good punch to the back post. Not really much that Matt Van Oekel can do.
How about this near goal from Alex Dixon?
We saw this ball played across a couple times today. Good ball from Callum Rawson, just tries to pick out that far post. Actually did it with Dixon twice. That one just going off the top of the crossbar and going the other direction. Reno really started to pick it up. We saw a lot of transition movement where they were getting down into the final third, but the chances and opportunities they were taking 20, 25, 30 yards from goal, they kind of lost that lure where they were interchanging play so well. Instead, it was these kind of haphazard makeshift chances, if you will. There's a good look at Mo Chow just getting in behind, trying to pressure the back line. Cody Andrews getting a little bit nonchalant with his defending efforts, and that's kind of all you really saw. This is probably the most teasing effort at the end of the day. Lindo Mafeka tries to get in and just has a good shot, but again, 25 yards from goal, not really much for Matt Van Oekel to handle. Things kind of leveled off. OKC shifts things around. They started to interchange a little bit better, and then this is where you're going to get the goal. Starts on the left-hand side. It's a good ball by Kyle Highland. And how about Christian Valesky? Unselfish, knocks it down. Alec Dixon knows exactly what his duties are, finishes it off, and he's able to level it up before halftime.
Statistically, the only number that OKC Energy cares about is the one on the top line, although they are certainly happy that they've been able to basically split possession with Reno. Probably could be more in their favor, but as we talked about in the first half, lots of long passes. It didn't seem to have a whole lot of intention behind them. And it probably cost them a couple of opportunities, but something certainly that they will address here at the break.
Took them about 30 minutes to really get going in this game and figure it out. And you know, we talked about Ian Russell at the top of the broadcast being an in-game tactician and moving things around. You have to give credit to Steve Cook. Came out in the 4-1-4-1, and it was very flat, much more fluid towards the latter portion of the first half. A lot of players moving in and out and covering each other. Jaime Siege getting involved, moving up top to help out Christian Valesky. And on the left-hand side, we saw Rasmussen and Kyle Highland getting around, and that caused a lot of frustration for the back line of Reno. They kind of took the tactics of Reno and put it to use against them, really benefited them.
Let's take a look at what Reno has coming up, and certainly there's a couple of games on here that I think are pretty important.
Fresno should be a walk in the park, but then you have to go to Orange County, to San Antonio, to T2, and then Real Monarchs, who are firing on all cylinders at 28 points in the Western Conference, sitting atop right now.
On the other side, OKC, as they try to string anything together that they can. They got some playoff teams here too.
S2, T2, again, 3 out of 4 on the road right now, and it's going to level off RGV and Los Dos, but then back on the road at San Antonio, a lot of work to be done.
Just about ready to start the second half. Energy FC tied things up in the 34th minute against Reno 1868. If you're checking in a little bit late tonight, I'm Brendan Gulick along with former German professional Devin Kerr, who, by the way, is selfless plug. You can hear Devin on the USL Game of the Week each week with Mike Watts. They do a terrific job every Wednesday night. A couple of weeks, you're going to have Energy FC on that Game of the Week. July 11th when Energy FC plays Las Vegas Lights, 7:30 local time.
I guess I'm buying drinks after the game for that shout out.
I won't say no. All right, what do you want to see here from Energy FC?
Continue on the momentum that we saw towards the end of the first half. Again, they did a good job starting to figure out what Reno was doing. And I use that very lightly because Reno is known to switch things up and shake it up. Just a few weeks ago, they came out, they went to Papa Murphy's Park, had to deal with Sac Republic, have an absolutely abysmal first half, went down 2-0 in the opening 12 minutes. Ian Russell made some moves, both personnel-wise and tactically shifted some things around. They came out, scored 3 goals in 6 minutes, win 3-2. So don't be surprised if Ian Russell tries to pull the strings a little bit and play the puppeteer tactician. Steve Cook's probably going to sit back, wait to see what he does. Again, both coaches, 3 subs in their pocket, so tactically can use some of those personnel guys to move things around and see exactly what pieces are going to fit. But again, you want to see that momentum continue. Much better defending by OKC towards the latter portion of the first half, and just keep your head on a swivel as these players start to move in and out of those tight spaces.
Luis Felipe. Somehow that didn't go out of bounds until Lacroix knocked it out. I don't want you to necessarily feel like you have to be a prognosticator here, but is there a substitute for either side that you think could come on, given the way things have played out, that could make a really good difference?
One of them's a gentleman we already mentioned, Jonathan Brown on the left side. Jaime Cias has done a great job, but he can also play on the right and play up top in the number 10. So maybe thinking keeping Jaime on the field and pulling the right side off. Haven't really seen that much from Christian Valesky so far. We saw him on the assist, but other than that, hasn't really given you the look that you like. So maybe push Cias up top in that supporting role and let Jonathan Brown down on the left side, stretch it a little bit. You could also, if you wanted, you could pull Callum Ross out of the middle. He's been okay for me. Didn't do a great job in the first half. Didn't make a lot of mistakes, but going forward, we really only saw him knock 2 really positive balls, we'll say, pushed into the final third. So not really what you want to see out of him. But again, Jonathan Brown can help out. That's probably the move that I would go. You also have Sean McClaw sitting there as well, who can give you a similar look.
Not really sure what Chavez had in mind on that ball struck across the field. Van Avike wants to be the ignition. Alex Dixon making it tough. A tackle by Richard Dixon, no whistle. Van Avike a little slow to get up.
Good look at Van Avike just dancing along the touchline. Going to ground, caught a little knock on the knee there.
No worse for the wear.
Definitely not. He started to kind of quiet off in the first half.
We get a look from St. Louis FC getting on the board. That's a big goal for them.
Corey Herzog sighting. Anthony Pulis is going to be really happy about that one. Anthony Pulis telling us just last week, had the opportunity to chat with him, and Corey has been a journeyman of sorts, playing in the MLS and the USL, coming over from Pittsburgh last year and just slow to get things started. Hasn't really had a lot of opportunities to get it going up top. The striking partner lacking in certain areas. St. Louis is actually going forward very similar to OKC. They have the right guys, and they've shown and proven at the high level that they can get it done, but it just hasn't funneled over into the first half of this season so far. Again, talent's there, just haven't been able to get the final points on the board.
Oh, beautiful ball threaded through. Lacroix, I don't know if he could have made a better effort. Well defended, though, too. Reno got off to a tough start at the beginning of the season, but they have been dynamite the last 2 months. lost 3 of their first 4. The only game they didn't lose was a 1-1 draw at Las Vegas. That was a rather chaotic game back on Saturday, March 24th, but they did play to a 1-1 draw. But beginning with a road win Saturday, April 21st at Portland Timbers 2. They have gone 4-0-4 the last 8 games. And maybe 1868 fans who thought, no Dane Kelly this year, don't have the same mojo we had last year, how's this going to work? And all of a sudden they're buying into a team that right now is on the cut line of being in the playoffs. Entering today 8th in the West. With games in hand, by the way. Nice block from Callum Ross. OKC Energy. Conference finals last year, conference semis 2 years ago, conference finals 3 seasons ago. Right now, they would do anything to string a couple wins together. Van Oekel comes out on 1 hop. Reno's doing a better job controlling the midfield here since the break. Alex Dixon couldn't keep it underneath him. Van Avijk centers it. Marie looking for Richards. And they retreat. Lacroix. Great ball into the middle. And a goal kick coming, but where something looked so stagnant, all of a sudden they had a real scoring chance.
You could hear Ian Russell in the background. He was saying, drive at them, go with pace. And that's exactly what they didn't do on the right side. They kind of reset, move the ball back into the middle, get it down into the channel. Duke Lacroix steps in and whips a dangerous ball right around the penalty mark. You can see just bodies trying to crash on goal. Matt Van Oekel just could only stare and hope that it didn't hit the back of the net again. Dangerous stuff from Reno in the opening moments of the second half.
Lindo Mfeka, former USF Bull, is a star in the American Athletic Conference. He's been a good pro the last several years. Andrews. Kyle Highland. This is better from Energy FC, although they just gave it away. Trying to find Chow on the run. Instead, it's Marie that comes up for some help. Ibiaga there to negate the opportunity. If you're Energy FC and you remember the 600-minute stretch where they didn't score a goal, does it benefit them to be patient in trying to attack Reno, or should they maybe go with more reckless abandon? What do you think?
Definitely need to go with more reckless abandon, go in transition. They possess the speed and capability to do so. But you've seen that when they've gone forward and they've gone with pace, they've been dangerous. Anytime they've been more methodical of sorts and kind of just slowed things down, moved it forward, it hasn't really been there. The spacing's off. Reno's too good of a team defensively, especially when you give them a chance to be. They're too good of a team to go slow. Don't give them an opportunity to get behind the ball. Much like Reno of last year when they tried to push with pace, you need to counteract that. So when Reno goes here, withstand the push, hold fortress, and then try and go with numbers the other direction.
And Oekel picks it up. How difficult is it, though, to balance that idea of, well, we really don't want to give up another goal because things haven't been good this season, with the idea of, hey, we got to make something happen. If we don't score another goal, we're not going to win.
Difficult for sure, but it goes back to what we spoke about at the top of the broadcast, where I said that the defense starts from up top and that pressure. So if you can get the guys to buy in to the ability to kind of withstand the pressure coming on the other side of the ball, you get Valesky, after he has his chance in the offensive third, if it doesn't find the net, turn around right away and go back to work, apply that pressure. Have everybody just push their lineup a little bit more. You give Reno the opportunity to get out of the back, they're gonna bite you. It'll come back to haunt you. But if you just push a little bit further, everybody gets a little bit tighter, doesn't give them a lot of room to work with.
Great ball from Van Avike. It's dribbled into the middle, and Ibeagha with a sliding stop. Or else this would easily be a 2-1 Reno lead with Mo Chow sitting there waiting.
Exactly what I was just talking about. The long ball gets played up to Valesky. Nobody steps into the space in behind him when he doesn't win it, so it enables Reno to step up through the middle of the park. All of a sudden, it's a melee. Where do I go? Who do I mark? Ball gets sprayed outside, then knocked back into the middle. If it wasn't for a last-ditch effort by Ibeagha, could be Reno 2-1.
'56th minute. Still tied at 1 apiece. Zach Carroll in the 2nd minute for Reno. Alex Dixon in the 34th for Energy FC. Beautiful night in Oklahoma City as we approach 9 o'clock local time. What is Reno trying to do here? A little fancy footwork from Richards. Low cross into a dangerous spot. Popped straight up in the air. It's not over yet. Siage knocks it out of harm's way. Richards wanted to tango on that far side. He was dancing around over top of the ball. And a foul away from the ball. Sends it back to Energy FC.
You could hear the fans wanted Victor Rivas to blow the whistle on the challenge over the back of Christian Valesky. Remember, they are dealing, both teams, some heavy elements here this evening. You talked about the temperature and the wind. The ball starts to bounce a little bit differently on an artificial surface in general, yet alone when wind comes into play. Starts to get into that hot night. Attrition starts to push players, both physically and mentally. As the moments start to wane down in a game, that little touch and that extra step are just that much harder to make.
Richard Dixon, great ball played to him. Beautiful in the middle, and how did Callum Ross miss that? Oh my goodness, he puts it right over the top of the bar.
Good stuff from OKC in transition. Ball from Rasmussen sprayed down into the channel, and see just a nice overlapping run. Good ball from Richard Dixon to the back post. Right around the penalty mark, in between the 6. Callum Ross just stepping in, and that's a really hard ball to hit. It's going to take a tiny little hop right before he gets it on his instep. Sometimes you want to put your laces on it there, get up over the top of the ball, but it's hard. Not a bad effort from Callum Ross.
Doesn't that feel like, in some ways, a microcosm of their season? So close. With tonight's goal included, only 6 tallies all season for OKC Energy. Whistle blows, and Mo Chow is hot.
Chow not happy with the challenge presented on him, and you see he's got his back to the goal. First ball goes straight up, and another 50-50 challenge. He and Cody Andrews doing battle, but Chow just using his arms a little bit too much. And you talked about the bounces not going right for you. If you look back at the two teams and their records, you know, unfortunately for OKC, hasn't been going in the right direction, but Steve Cook told us that he's been happy with a lot of their performances, that they've stayed in games and just couldn't close things out to begin with, or they put themselves behind early on. Shows good character from OKC to claw back in after giving up that early goal. And for Reno on the other side of things, they kind of have been recipients of those fortuitous bounces. If you look at them, first 4 games that they weren't able to get it going, but outside of the game versus Colorado Springs where they put a 4-0 whooping on them, they really didn't have bad games. I was actually on the call for the Phoenix-Reno game, and that was a 50-50 game for the most part. Phoenix got a PK in the 89th minute of that game. Solomon Asante was able to close it out. Before that, they had to go to Las Vegas. If you haven't experienced Las Vegas Lights and Cashman Field yet, you know you don't know what I'm talking about. It's wild. It's an entertainment, and it's an experience, we'll say. And then obviously Carlton Belmar, who is having a great season this year, came out in the opening week, and they were able to beat them in Reno 4-3. But Swope Park Rangers is a difficult squad. They are talented top to bottom. They have so many players, and a lot of times you'll get players that come over from Sporting KC that can affect that as well. So that's hard to tactically understand what's going on early in the season, yet alone with so many players that are available to your disposal.
A couple of whistles stop play there. Apparently Dixon was too far forward for his throw in. I mentioned Carlton Belmar leads the league right now with 8 goals. Dane Kelly's sitting there going, yeah, I did that, no problem.
Dane's like, I did it in 2 games.
Yeah, it took me 2 weeks. OKC Energy try to take the lead. Rasmussen was pressed ahead.
Good ball in by Siaj. Rasmussen gets to the byline, used that left foot, and he's trying to pick out the far post. Christian Valesky was cutting across, and unfortunately Alex Dixon was just a little bit out of position against the play. But he was tucked inside waiting for the ball to come across, and just getting in the final third, difficult to deal with.
So Mo Chow leaves the field. He just saw that he was rather vocal there toward the end of that last foul that he thought had been committed. And now he's replaced by Brian Brown. How does Brian Brown affect their transition now?
Someone they definitely need to keep an eye on. We talked about the Reno game a few weeks ago versus Sac Republic. He was able to get 2 goals in that game, and they were very pretty. Tactically, he's extremely sound, great footwork, likes to go one-on-one with players, but can also get into combination play in that little triangle they play up top in that 4-2-3-1. See him float around. It'll be interesting to see if they leave Brian Brown up top by himself and he's actually just going to take over the duties of Mo Chow, or if they're going to let Mafeka go run by himself, or maybe even push Van Avijk alone. Most likely it'll still be Brian Brown, though.
For now, it's Kyle Hyland bending one into the backside. That's contested, pulled down by Marcin Kowski. I like the way he has commanded the defense tonight. The goal he gave up was just terrific, aesthetically pleasing soccer, a great build-up and a goal that honestly I'm not sure he would have been able to save. But I thought he's played really well.
You're spot on. Good communication. You've seen him just pointing fingers and letting the back line know exactly where they want to be. That's the mark of a great goalkeeper. Not only does he make the saves for you, but he can see the game the best. He sees everything from start to finish, and much like a person playing chess, able to just pull the strings here and there and get the pawns in the right place.
Van Avijk, well, he was a split second away from getting a shot off. Chipped ahead. Brian Brown was right there. He swung and missed.
Some interesting comments from the fans letting us know that they might not have made the change for Brian Brown, but it's a good ball in behind. That's a difficult one, though. Ball coming over your right shoulder, looking back, and got to hit it with your left. A bit quieter here from Reno in the second half. OKC has definitely been on the forefront.
Another substitution coming in. I believe it's Antoine Opino, but we'll wait to verify. It sure is. One of the co-MVPs of this Reno side a year ago. 12 goals, 6 assists last year. Of course, spent some time with FC Cincinnati as well. Opino in for Paul Marie.
Pretty stereotypical move by Ian Russell. Opino, such a figurehead out on the right side. I missed the man bun, though, I got to be honest. I loved the long hair last year. I think it's affecting his play a little bit, but he still got 4 assists, so
I'll let you tell him.
Doing something right. I used to rock the man bun myself, so.
Really?
My fiance doesn't let me do that anymore.
Oh, man, I got to see pictures of that.
Yeah. We'll talk to the producers, see what we can do for you.
Sent away. There are some things that just aren't meant to be shown. Whistle blows. So Reno's used 2 of their subs in basically back-to-back dead ball situations. We'll see when Steve Cook decides to bring his first on. May not be long. Scoring summary tonight, Zach Carroll, a header in the 2nd minute, put Reno on the board. Energy FC got one from Alex Dixon in the 34th. Steve Cook, hands in his pockets, calm demeanor tonight. His team hanging in there with a playoff side right now. Reno in 8th place in the Western Conference. Nifty footwork. Highland, Cleveland, Ohio native. Tap to the top of the box. Small opening and it closed quickly. Ross working with Rasmussen. Brian Brown streaking on the backside. Van Avek. Fecka. Reno's offense has been stagnant for most of the half. A couple of chances they have come up quickly in more counterattack or quick strike mentality. Do you get the feeling that maybe they're okay with taking a point on the road?
Ian Russell
playing for a point on the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst thought process. Ian Russell told us that he's more than happy going on the road and just stealing a point.
Brown taken down, no whistle. Reno still has a chance.
But when you get an opportunity to go up against a team like an OKC who's struggling, obviously has the potential to get better, but who's struggling, you need to take advantage of it.
Richards, Brown, right in the middle. Deflected off Highland. Van Oekel can exhale for a moment. Things getting a little chippy. Arteta and Richard Dixon exchanging Christmas cards, perhaps.
Look, a moment ago, just tackle right at the top of the box. It's definitely not a foul. Could be a little bit of a slip, but not bad from Reno. And there's another look at the ball sprayed across. Those little bounces we talked about not going OKC's way, that could have easily ended up in the back of the net week 2 or week 3. So things starting to turn around a little bit for the Energy.
If nothing else, the fans are a little more alive. Duke Lacroix. And the whistle blew right before he threw the ball into play because of a sub. Here's a guy I know you've been waiting to see, Khalif Al-Hassan.
Someone that I didn't bring into the substitution question earlier. I didn't think that Steve Cook would pull the trigger on his debut. Khalif Al-Hassan, if you haven't seen him play before, the Ghanaian is extremely talented. He's got a load of experience in the MLS. He's actually only one of 3 players in MLS history who in their first 3 games had an assist in every single game. Extremely tactical. He's been a journeyman of sorts, traveling all around, but he can give you the pace, he can give you the pleasure, he can get everything done. Could be a good addition for Steve Cook and his squad.
Well, there's no doubt that just his resume stacks up against the absolute best across the entire USL. Most recently played with New York Cosmos. Another possession for Energy FC that never really manifested itself, and now they're in trouble. Richards looking for Brown. Sidestep, shoots, deflected. Richard Dixon saves the day. Plenty of time left in this game for both teams to try and push ahead a go-ahead goal.
Excellent tackle by Kyle Highland on the left side. Seen the subs from Reno picking it up a little bit. Antoine Opino getting involved in the action. Those fresh legs are going to start to push Kyle Highland and his pace a little bit more. We talked about the attrition hitting the 70th minute mark. Now's the time you got to be a little bit more sound in your efforts.
Well, I thought Mfeka was going to find a way to slot that to Brian Brown. Only a handful of yards away from the net. It almost seems like Reno's tactfulness on the attack here, their patience and their willingness to just wait till they get exactly the look they're looking for. It's actually been effective, but the volume of looks certainly decreased from what they had in that first half when it felt like they were shooting every couple of minutes.
Definitely picking and choosing their moments. Much more flat-footed in their efforts, but had some opportunities.
Lacroix crossing. Highland sends it wayward. Meanwhile, Philip Rasmussen's day is over. Jose Barril taking his spot. Rasmussen, just in my estimation, I thought played pretty well.
Did a good job, and I really liked when he started to get involved in those interchanging plays that we talked about where players would shift from left to right, and he had no problem sliding in. Something that the Energy struggled with in the first 25, 30 minutes of the first half, but have been much better since. Again, taking the page out of Ian Russell and Reno's book, Steve Cook understanding the changes that needed to be made. I'd like to see that man get a little bit more involved. Alex Dixon's been very quiet here in the second half.
Luis Felipe. Well, I don't know. I think his effectiveness tonight has been so-so in the midfield. Ian Partita, I have to admit, I kind of expected a little bit more from. They certainly haven't hurt Reno, but they've had games this year where they've been more explosive.
Not as evolved offensively as we've seen from them in the past, but they have done a good job on the defensive side of the ball, sitting a little bit deeper than normal, and that could be part of the game plan that Ian Russell wanted to exhibit here for this squad tonight. Again, being on the road, having to deal with the grit and the energy and everything that they bring to the match, sitting a little bit deeper, but allowing the other pieces to get around and kind of step in front of the space that they've created.
Perhaps this could be a really big place for Reno. Clearly, Khalif Al-Hassan disagrees with the foul call. But Van Avek with a chance to put together a nice set piece. They scored in the second minute on a corner kick, their very first set piece of the game. Very left side of your screen there. In the captain's band, Zach Carroll was the one that headed it in.
Look for Zach Carroll and Jig-Jig to get on the end of a ball. Big bodies.
Found some open space, thought perhaps it glanced off the wrist. Boy, Energy FC certainly felt so. And it's being ruled a corner kick.
Surprised the referee doesn't blow the whistle on Zach Carroll here. The ball bounces down and definitely takes a deflection off his arm. Again, the referee saying that it's going to the corner as well in a deflection, giving Reno another opportunity.
Reno looking for a go-ahead goal in the 74th. Backside, cleared away. And Avik puts on the brakes. He'll send in another one. Kyle Highland got his head on it. Good teamwork. Whereas last year, Reno was the team you just didn't want to leave hanging around in the game because you were always fearful that they were going to slam one down your throat. Not so much this year. They still have the weaponry offensively to make it hurt. if you give them open chances. Wow, good persistence from Lacroix. It's Mfeka cracking with a left foot. High and wide, but a great look.
Good stuff by Reno, pushing in to OKC's half and just condensing the field a little bit. Duke Lacroix stepping up in, going one-on-one, playing a ball down onto the left. And she mentioned he's going to just try and pick out the far post. Mfeka can't get it by Van Oekel. 20 minutes left. The issue still in doubt. Everybody just looking to break the deadlock. 15 minutes left, excuse me. As you can tell, I played soccer. I'm not a mathematics major. We all have our faults.
Is that a precursor to playing in Germany?
Could be. Could
okay,
be.
fair enough. And Russell, hands on hips. Sees another opportunity fall by the wayside. Alex Dixon in the neon pink cleats. He's the one that put OKC Energy on the board. Looks like Portland's got a goal there fairly late in the game as Reno's on the move. Oh, great angle of pursuit from Kyle Highland, and he thwarts that attack. It's not over yet as Opano plays forward. Oh, great move. Reno, Mfeka, goal! 2-1 Reno. Lindo Mfeka seizes the moment again. And Reno, unbeaten in their last 8, strikes late.
Some really impressive stuff. Again, coming from the right-hand side of the pitch. Paul Marie slacking off in his efforts. They bring on Opano. Opano's the one who starts this off. Actually plays the ball down in. Richards gets to it. Goes through the 5-hole on Highland. Ball to the back post. And it's just another excellent finish by Reno. Classy, to say the least.
Right before the start of that last replay, Brent Richards, with his footwork and controlling his body, that was one of the most impressive sequences we've seen all game. Total class.
Kyle Highland got caught out of position and got nutmegged. You saw him, again, Opano getting on the right, played the ball in, and you expected, including myself, I expected that ball to be sprayed back out for Opano to take a touch, maybe have a crack at goal, or distribute something into the middle. Richards saw exactly what we all were thinking and took advantage of it, isolated that one-on-one situation to get the assist.
Now Energy FC has to get moving. A little passive the last few minutes, but they are running out of time. Highland looking for a window. Ross feeds Alex Dixon. And a corner kick. That's a good start for Energy FC. Jose Barril, a mainstay here for Energy FC fans the last couple years. He's been in situations like these many times. Headed right at the top of the 6th, over the top. Barrio plays a nice ball in, but a missed opportunity for OKC.
Sweet ball played in by Jose Barril, and Callum Ross, Cody Andrews just getting in the way of each other a little bit, trying to get that game-tying goal. Two bodies colliding, knocking over the top.
Take us inside the mentality of a team that has gone through a really rough patch and is down late in the game after playing fairly level with a playoff caliber team.
It's frustrating to say the least, but it's also a good test of character. Moments like this are when you can look back on a season and rally the troops and go, you know what, this is something that the breakthrough that we needed. And again, you said it, they've gone tit for tat and toe to toe with Reno all night long. Started slow, but crawled back into the match. And have, for the most part, pretty much held the reins here in the second half. Obviously, Reno got the second goal, but Reno a little bit more quiet with their efforts. See the pushes and surges forward aren't as prevalent as we saw in the first half. OKC have had a lot of answers, but you just have to stay to the task at hand, and you don't want to think about what has happened in the past in the previous 8, 9, 10 games and all the frustrations you've dealt with. What you have right now is 10 minutes in front of you to give yourself an opportunity to tie this game up and possibly go for the win.
Energy FC has brought on Khalif Al-Hassan and Jose Barril in the second half. One more sub available at Steve Cook's disposal. It's Barril in the middle. Alex Dixon sends one that was on target, I suppose, but fairly easy for Marcinkowski, unabated.
Alex is trying to put a little bit more swerve on it than he did, unfortunately, and saw Christian Valesky had a little bit of space to work with in the middle of the box, just couldn't get the ball to dance the way he wanted it to.
Valesky an assist, but hasn't really had any really good looks at scoring tonight. I'm sure Energy FC fans are hoping that changes in the near future. Tonight and beyond, they need him to ignite this offense. Van Avike, great vision. Brown's on sides. He's knocked over, and it's a goal kick.
Solid display of defending by OKC. You get him caught out of position a little bit, but a great job tracking back, and you're going to get another look. Van Avike plays the ball in behind. As he just slides over, Cody Andrews able to get a body. Brian Brown. Brian Brown goes to ground. It's definitely not a foul, just good defending. Nine minutes to go in this match. I'd be shocked if Steve Cook didn't go to the bench one more time.
Energy FC's next home match, Saturday, June 16th, against Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC. First 2,000 through the gates earn a pop socket for your phone from First Fidelity Bank. For more info about becoming an Energy FC member, bringing a group to a match, or single game tickets, call 235-KICK.
Speaking of Colorado Springs, Steve Chichu and co are in Las Vegas this evening, having to do battle with El Chalice and Isidro Sanchez at Cashman Field. Again, if you haven't seen Las Vegas, go check them out. The llamas are awesome.
There's a lot of things awesome.
There's a lot of things awesome, yeah.
Cracked by Barril over the top of the net. Good idea, but off target. Justin Chavez about to head to the bench for OKC Energy FC. And here's a guy that Energy FC fans are glad to see back, Miguel Gonzalez. He's returned from suspension.
Actually grabbed that suspension in the last game out versus Reno. Handed a 3-match ban for the red card he received, but he's been someone in the middle of the field. Now you're going to see everybody move around a little bit, pulling off holding midfielder Justin Chavez. They were sitting in that 4-1-4-1, letting him roam a little bit, kind of help out play. Be surprised if they switch it up. Could jump into a 4-2-3-1. Possibly just go with a 4 and then a diamond in the middle. So it looks like that's what they're going to do, with Barril stepping into the holding spot. But still, 6-7 minutes, be able to get another one up on the board and tie this game up.
Lindo Mfeka with the go-ahead goal came roughly 10 minutes ago, a little over 10 minutes ago. Energy FC hoping to defend their home turf, but right now they've got to come up with something magical late. Meanwhile, the Energy FC Gold Card is a benefit for season seat members that earns discounts at several metro area locations like Terry Parker Solutions, Mama Rita's, and Buffalo Wild Wings on Northwest Expressway. To learn more, visit energyfc.com/gold. Christian Ibiaga has played an important role tonight. Maybe a run here. Great explosiveness. Open Oak crossing. Ibiaga again comes to the relief on the backside of the play. And Reno just keeps making this more and more difficult as Energy FC begins to run out of time. They have not scored a goal this late in a game at any point this season. Van Avike, Brian Brown. Elaine doesn't take it. He is just trying to kill the clock. Wide open in the middle, and Feka. Offsides.
Reno had a real good look just moments ago, but Van Avike should have continued his run to the end line, had a lot of space in front of him, decides to do a little dance of his own, get some other people involved. OKC a lot of space to work with here.
Miguel Gonzalez. Barril. Al Hassan. Potentially something here. A shot from beyond the 18, deflected from Callum Ross. Reno withstands. Morelos, a proud partner of Energy FC. Get your grocery shopping done and buy your tickets to the next Energy FC home match at Supermercado Morelos stores on Southwest 59th and Santa Fe, and Northwest 50th and Meridian.
You have trouble with numbers in school as well?
Well, no, but the read says 50th, so I had to figure that was 50th instead of 15th. That's okay.
We'll get there.
We will get there. Feka, the beneficiary of Ross eating some turf.
It's a great step by center back Jan Jagian. Recognized the offensive push that was coming, was able to thwart that effort.
Some fans a little restless, and honestly, I can understand why. The defense not really adding any pressure here. They've got to come up with a goal. Brian Brown. Shot blocked. Looks like one more sub coming on. Seth Kasipli in for Lindo Mfeka. Kasipli, another wily vet, spent considerable time here in the USL.
A little bit of time wasting by Ian Russell and a couple fresh legs to finish the game off. Kasipli will slide onto the left side, and most likely Jerry Van Avike will move into the 10 role, although they'll keep that nice and compact and tight for the final few minutes of this game.
Well, if you're Energy FC, if the score stands this way, obviously this is not the result you're looking for. How do you try and move past the game where you played fairly well but gave up a goal early? I don't want to say it's when they weren't prepared or ready, but when you give up a goal in the second minute of action, it makes you question your focus early in the game. And then they blinked once late, and that's the difference. Steve Cook's team has their work cut out for them, no doubt, as we approach stoppage time. Alex Dixon plays back. Khalif Al-Hassan. Nifty little step over. Highland. Not enough on it. Richard Dixon heads to the top of the box. We are anticipating here about 3 minutes of stoppage time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth official on the sidelines indicated there'll be a minimum of 3 minutes amount of time in the second half. 3 minutes.
Energy FC scored their 6th goal of the season. For a while, it was enough to keep the match level. Foul called. Play stopped. Steve Cook, you see him on the bottom of your screen there. He's not a happy guy.
Frustrated with the call by the linesman in that situation. But again, just a little bit too little, too late for the Energy so far. Everybody gassed, hands on the hips, hands on the legs, extremely tired.
Energy FC Man of the Match brought to you by Mass Mutual of Oklahoma. It's Alex Dixon with this goal. His first of the season and first since last August when he leveled things at 1 apiece in the 34th minute. Time is running out on Oklahoma City. Van Avike, if there were someone to pick on the Reno side who's had a big impact but maybe not scored a goal, I think he's an easy decision. Certainly you can point to Mfeka for his go-ahead goal, but Van Avike has been in the middle of everything tonight.
You're spot on. Van Avike and Brent Richards, probably my MVPs
Sure.
for Reno this evening. They've done a good job. Both involved, integral pieces for the squad going forward, coming back. Very active the entire game as well. Love the effort put forward by Alex Dixon, but he's definitely disappeared in the second half here. Energy literally went away for him and been a lot quieter.
First 3 months of the season, not what Steve Cook has hoped for. Thought perhaps tonight would be a good way to open the month of June. But Reno is making this a night to forget. Meanwhile, Reno is on the verge of extending this incredible stretch where they have not been beaten. This will be their 9th consecutive unbeaten game. Gamesmanship here, killing some time. Not what Energy FC was looking for by the end of the night. The restless crowd disappointed with the final result. It's Reno 1868 on the road, a 2-1 win thanks to that man, Lindo Mfeka, who scores roughly 70 minutes into the fair. Devin, this is pretty much what we've grown to expect from Reno. Good enough defense and offense at the right time.
Great job. Two-way play from everybody on the field tonight. Frustrating for OKC. They couldn't get out in front. Let Reno do all the work for them early on. They got that early goal in the second minute. Just played catch-up the entire game. And the late effort from Ian Russell and boys on the road, able to get another road victory, undefeated on the road in 2018.
So, this Energy FC loses for the second and final time to Reno 1868 this season. And as you saw, the 9th consecutive unbeaten game for Reno 1868. We'll be right back for the Centec postgame show right after these messages. 2-1, 1868 a win.
When that hurricane hit, the entire community came together as a whole. It was such an overwhelming response to help others. No one thought that they were going to do this before it happened, and everyone just did it. I think that's the way that human nature should be looked at.
I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you. Won't let nobody hurt you.
A well's output is only as strong as landing the production stream. In extreme conditions, call for extreme durability. At Syntec, our engineers understand what matters. That's why we craft centralizers differently than anyone else in the industry. Laser cut from a single piece of special steel alloy. There's only one centralizer this strong. Syntec Centralizers, an international symbol of quality.
Well, a solid effort for the first half. Energy FC was able to put some things together, but Reno 1868, too much in the end thanks to a goal from that guy, Lindo Mfeka. His game-winning goal really has just been the backbreaker that Energy FC has been used to this season, not something they want to continue. As we look at the full-time highlights, it started very quickly for 1868. They got on the board in the second minute.
Unfortunately, Ian Russell had him going. He knew exactly what the game plan was. They get a corner early on, and there's just no energy whatsoever by OKC. You can see everybody kind of standing around, pointing fingers at each other. Van Oekel is furious with everyone. The marking's off, the spacing is off, and Zach Carroll has no problem stepping in, getting his team out in front early. They pretty much ran the show for the opening 30 minutes or so. This was the only effort we saw. It's a good teasing ball in by Callum Ross, ball back by Highland, back over to Ross, and then as Alec Dixon, that diagonal run coming across the box, hits it off the post. Didn't really see much more until the 36th minute or so. Great ball into the back post. Christian Valesky knocks it down for Alec Dixon. That man gets in on the action, is able to find the back of the net.
Carroll nearly got his foot on it, but Dixon slides it home. And it tied things at 1 apiece. This was a beautiful effort. And we saw some challenges from Reno. They were less frequent in the second half, but boy, they still had really good looks until they finally put one home. Here's an opportunity for Energy FC, and this one was right on the money from Dixon.
Defensively, OKC was much more sound, at least from about the start of the second half until the 75th minute or so. Started to get rattled towards the end of the second half, but Reno just started to figure out exactly what to do. Like you said, didn't get a lot of chances, but after Ian Russell made the changes, they all had an effect on the outcome of the game. Opano starts the play, Richards with the overlapping run, ball back to Mfeka, finds the far post, and once again, the visitors were up leading, able to close this game out and get another decisive road victory.
That's all she wrote. Reno 1868 with their 9th consecutive unbeaten game, with 5 wins now and 4 draws in that stretch, extending a franchise record. They really heavily outshot Energy FC in the first half and maintained that margin into the second half. Obviously, possession 50-50, but sometimes stats don't tell the full story, and I know this is just a game Energy FC would have liked to have had back. Final thoughts from you?
Another frustrating one for Steve Cook, but at some point in time, the levee's going to hold up. The dam's not going to break anymore. You won't need Band-Aids, but again, it goes back to the mental focus and tenacity. Started slow, fought back into it, couldn't close it out, got to find a way to be better, consistent, full 90 minutes.
For Devin Kerr, I'm Brendan Gulick. Good night from Taft Stadium, where Reno 1868 picks up another road win, and they win tonight by a final of 2-1.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.